Hi, my name is Teresa Valentino, and I'm here with another Survivor Pro tip about clapping back. When and why to do it, and importantly, when not to do it. You know, the pros and cons of clapping back in the age of Me Too. So, this morning, this idea came up for me because I watched a couple of really nice things with my morning coffee and my wake and bake. I love watching YouTube videos. I get to see a lot of different things, and one of the things I love to do is watch comedy. That's one of my favorite tips for elevating your mental health, is to find things to laugh about as often as possible. I have been in the past a huge fan of Dave Chappelle. I used to love that show. I used to watch it every single time. There were a lot of things that I felt were mean-spirited towards women, honestly, but a lot of them were kind of funny, and most of the stuff on that show was really funny. Like, I loved his movie, but you know, it is what it is. So that interview on PBS this morning, I don't know if they eventually asked him about his disgusting Elizabeth Smart jokes. Like, I'm not trying to have this go real long, but think about this for a second. That was a lengthy bit that he did more than once. Means that his handlers, people that know him, saw him talking about this stuff and didn't say, "Hey Dave, you sure? Are you sure you really want to armchair quarterback a couple of like young girls who were kidnapped by maniacs? Like, really?" It's not a good look for a grown man who's never been kidnapped, I don't think. But that's me, so I don't know. Everybody's got their own taste. So anyway, come a couple minutes into that video. It was like 9 minutes long, and I was really hoping that it would be okay. I really wanted it to be okay with him because I like his comedy. But God, I didn't know whether to offer that man a breath mint or some toilet paper. I just had to go. Sorry, I got to jump up now and do some of my own little mental health tips. I had to get up and get a little exercise, and then go play little funny games with a toddler for a minute, making funny faces at each other, just to get my shit back together enough so that I could make this video about it, make it worthwhile. So the pros and cons of clapping back. You may also want to see my video, Are You a Snowflake? Because that's one of the conversations you're going to have if and when you do decide to clap back with people. A lot of the times the people that you need to clap back against are just low quality individuals in general, and so you can expect low quality responses from them. So clapping back is not an automatic given. Clapping back gets people killed a lot of times. Just trying to say. So, but the pros and cons of clapping back, I came up with 3. 1 pro and 2 con. I got claim your voice and feel empowered. That's what can happen if you do clap back. Or it could set off a car alarm, God knows. And most people would consider that a pro. The other things that can happen are you can very likely to get ignored, which is like what happens to me when I clap back at all the wealthy, famous, big voice having misogynists that I'm down to clap back at now. Or you can get clapped back. And as a survivor, that was one of the worst things for me, was like the fear of being clapped back. Like, if I ever tried to get people to help me in any way, or ask for support, or please step off my neck, sir, or anything like that, there would be a significant clap back to me. There would be retribution. It would not be good. So that's, 1 pro and 2 cons. So the great thing that I watched this morning was Terry Crews testifying before Congress. Speaking of 2 cons and Congress. The contrast, speaking of cons, between Dave Chappelle and Terry Crews, shameful, sad, embarrassing Dave Chappelle. Terry Crews should change that R in his last name to an L, so he could be Terry Clues, because that's all he did, was sit there and just hand out free clues to the Congress. One of the most important things that he said this morning, or that I saw this morning, was that as a black man, he had to mentally prepare himself for agitators, people attempting to troll and provoke him just to knock him off his game, because they are jealous little hater losers, okay? You can take one look at Terry Crews, who is a very giant, amazing looking man, who is smart and has a crazy sense of humor, and know that he intimidates a lot of people, right? I can only imagine a lot of the really dopey incel type guys walking around. They see Terry Crews walk into the room and notice how loose their shorts are, right? So basically, he just mentioned the biggest con of all. Because if you clap back, a lot of the times what you are doing is feeding the troll. You are derailing your own glorious path to success by dallying in the valley of somebody else's bitter nonsense. So that's how I've learned to take my leadership. I look at people who impress me as human beings, and then I copy what they do, and I think about the things that they do and say. Conflict-driven people, speaking of Congress and contrast and all this other stuff, conflict-driven people are contrary. There's a lot of them. There are a lot of people in this world who have what we call a cluster B personality disorders. 2 YouTube channels that I like that discuss that cluster B situation quite a bit are Richard Grannon, the Spartan Life Coach, and Lisa Romano. They talk a lot about how to negotiate, like how to understand the games that are played by the really nasty, negative people who are creeping and crawling all around this world like human cockroaches. So they are conflict-driven. They do not feel like they're really alive unless they're agitating somebody else in some way or stepping on somebody's humanity. That's basically what it comes down to. It's a very sad, sickening form of mental illness that is eating up this planet right now. So, and they are con artists. A lot of the times, they don't even care about whatever they're trying to provoke you about. It's just a way of getting, avoiding any real conversation or any like real progress or whatever you'd like to do. No, they'd like to keep the agenda on keeping you unhappy and unstable. So, as my friend Richard used to say, don't wrestle with pigs because you'll ruin your clothes and the pig enjoys it. So that's the deal with conflict-driven people. That's the argument against clapping back. You may be just feeding the trolls. You may be just humoring these little dingbats into feeling important when they know they're not. That's why they're doing it. So, my deal is that I've really made it an effort to find something positive in everything, especially in things that had an absolutely negative intention towards me. When someone hurls just all the negativity towards me that they can muster, which has happened to me a lot in my life, I just have had to find ways to make that into a positive for myself because I have not had any choice but to make those lemons into lemonade. And then I made that lemonade into tinkle. Quick question. Why have you never heard a pterodactyl urinate? Do you know? Because the P is silent. Anyway, so I wrote that book, Dear Jimmy, as a clapback to Jimmy Kimmel about how dreadful it was for me to be in my rape crisis, mental health phase, and not be able to find any safe place in the world where I could rest my head, rest my bones, or try to catch my breath, or find out who I was in this world other than a juggie. So, I wrote that book because I wanted to claim my voice and feel empowered in my life, and that is what I got out of it. I know better than to hang my hat on thinking that a low-quality person who does not care how you feel, as I discuss in the Are You a Snowflake video, don't think you're going to educate that person. But I also know when I saw other people being victimized, and when I still see other people being victimized, I feel like a little bit traumatized, like it splashes on me. I see somebody else being dehumanized and I feel slimed, you know? And so that's just a personal thing that I've wrestled with really a lot. I'm gonna make a separate video on clapback examples of different times when the clapback has and has not worked, okay? So I did my clapback in the form of the book, Dear Jimmy, because I felt like it was important. I was not hung up on what anyone else would think on this cluster B changing into a nice person. I don't have that malfunction in my brain anymore. So, yeah, I clapped back at Dave Chappelle, PBS, Jimmy Kimmel, a couple of different dingbats at a McDonald's one time. I mean, I do it all the time now, but now the thing with clapping back, my criteria are really 2. If you're not trying to educate the goofball in question when you clap back most of the time, like with some person at McDonald's, I just clapped 2 of them back the other day, right back to back in a row within like 3 minutes of each other. But it's not for the other person. It's like to get clear on what your boundaries are as a human being. Whether that ding-dong grabs it or not is of no consequence. The other people, just like when I feel slimed by proximity, just when I see other people being degraded and dehumanized, okay, Well, the other people who are witnessing me clapping this dickhead back, now they also know where my line is of human dignity. They understand what my boundaries are with my self-respect. So that's a reason to do it. And the other reason to do it is that the offense in question, the degradation or whatever it is that they're doing, disrespect towards you, affects not just yourself, but it's an actual whole life problem. So a lot of my clapping back is either about rape survivors, people who are bullied, or the disabled, because I am disabled. I use a mobility device. I cannot use the ordinary toilet. I need to use the one with the handrails. So that causes a lot of conflict in my life, because there's a lot of really selfish cluster B people who love making disabled people stare at all the empty toilets while they sit and take a nasty dump in the only toilet you can use 10, 15, 20 minutes from now, whenever they decide to come out. They live for it. It makes them feel so important, so amazing. They are everywhere, my friends. So I hope that this pro tip can give you a little advice on when and how to clap back, and importantly, when not to. Do not clap back if you think that that low quality person is suddenly going to get how awful they were and apologize. The chances of that are super duper low. If you have something like that where you're in a relationship with somebody and you'd like to know if it's a high quality person or if they're just real deep in their cluster B stuff, you can just clap them back. Richard Grannon, the Spartan Life Coach, talks about the smiling no. You know, you just tell somebody no. You just don't give them what they want, not in a nasty, negative way, just no. You know, and if they can't cope with that, they're jerks, right? You're allowed to say no, right? So I hope that's helpful for you. And yeah, that's, you know, keep in mind, guys, if people are traumatized by a legitimate clapback, that's about them. It's like people who are really, really out of line with passive aggression feel like you clapping them back is an aggression on your part, when actually it's not. They're so far over the line and so unwilling to own up to it that they act like it's you coming from out of the blue with some crazy thing. You know, like all the people who just think this whole Me Too thing is just gone way too far. They have no idea how it's going to be once it gets rolling. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching my video. Please, if you like this video, please click like and subscribe. And if you click on the bell, then it'll give you a notification when I add something new. My blog is at teresavalentino.com. There's a special offer on the free Jimmy book for a little while, and some other mental health tips. There's a meditation, a 4-minute, 15-minute life elevator meditation. And all that stuff is free for now, at least. So please go over to teresavalentino.com and grab it. And I would love to hear about your clapback experiences and your thoughts about it, times when you have or have not clapped back and how that's gone for you, and what things you think are worth clapping back about. As they say, what hill are you willing to die on? Thank you.